Well, good morning, Gateway Church. It's good to be with you. Will y'all be welcome everybody watching online or maybe from other campuses with us today? It's good to be with you. We are in a brand new series called Beyond Scarcity. And today we're going to give a general overview, but every week after this, we're going to dive into what does it mean with our time, talent, and treasure? This idea of scarcity and God's abundance, and really wrestle through some of these things and how we deal with this in the culture of it. And to see back in front of you, there's a card like this. Just make sure it's there if you have that. If you're in one of the first rows of a section, it's in the seat behind you. So just know that that is available. We'll use that towards the end of our time together. Well, we are in this series, and I wanted to kick off by telling a story that as soon as I knew we were going to do this series, which probably was about 10 months ago, this story came to mind. So imagine 12 years ago, we decided we were going to take our younger kids to New York City. So we do have 5 kids. At the time we only had 4, and so we were taking our younger 2 along with our older kids to New York City. And our youngest one at the time was Zoe, and Zoe was 3 years old. And we were in New York City. And in the summer in New York, there's this beautiful thing that happens. It happens around the world, but something's different about Manhattan, and that is the summer solstice. And there's a couple of days during the summer where the sun rises and it hits through all the streets in Manhattan. It just blows up like a big golden just light that goes through. And we had that moment. So a picture of Zoe there during the summer solstice when this happened. And it's really beautiful. It's one of my favorite pictures of Zoe on the streets in Manhattan, her first time being in New York. She's 3 years old. It's so cute, except about 4 or 5 hours before this, we had a very dramatic moment in our family. Some of you know this, but I'm a cheapskate by nature. I don't like spending money. I love coupons. I love doing all that kind of stuff. I love buying things that are on sale and on clearance and saying, I bought this cheaper than you did, haha. Just something about it that feels really good for me. And so my daughter, Zoe, being 3 years old, it was hot in New York. And you're like, hot in New York City? I'm like, no, it's not Texas hot, but if you're from the East Coast, anything above 90, forget it. You just want to die, right? And we're from Texas. We're in New York. It's 90 degrees. It feels hot. Zoe's asking for ice cream every 15 minutes. Can I have some ice cream? Can I have some ice cream? I have some ice cream. So finally, the end of the afternoon, we're in one of the busiest places in the world. We're around Broadway. We're on street on Broadway in Manhattan. And I see an ice cream place. I'm like, okay, I'm going to finally get ice cream for Zoe. She's 3 years old. Now, being a good parent, we had her in a stroller most of the time, or, back in the day, those backpacks where they were basically on a leash. We had those too, because we're good parents. New York City, thousands of people, crossing roads, and she finally gets her ice cream and she says, I want to walk. I'm like, okay. We're going to let you walk, but this is crazy. So I'm walking here, then it's Zoe, then it's Libby. We're crossing Broadway, one of the biggest, most busiest streets in the world. All these people going all over the place in cars. And on Broadway, they're redoing the road, and there's asphalt, and it's fresh. All sorts of things happening, and Zoe's so excited like a little kid. She has her ice cream cone. She's holding it, and we're crossing Broadway. And as we begin to cross, I don't know how Zoe did it. It was like she was from The Matrix. She had the slowest fall in the history of falls. And I'm going to reenact it. So if I can't get up, it's just because I'm older than I was back then. And so she goes and she hits some of the asphalt that was just put down fresh. You could smell it. And she trips. And she falls to her knee. And then she falls on the other knee. And then she starts falling over this way. And then I'm going to give you a booty shot. And her momentum carries her over. And she gets up. And she gets up. And we're like, Zoe, are you okay? And so Libby and I, as good parents, take one arm and we each and we go across and we finish Broadway. And we go over. And Zoe saved the ice cream cone in the middle of that fall. I don't know how she did it. She saves the ice cream cone, but as a parent, we're watching her. There's blood going down her knees. There's asphalt in her elbows. There's snot everywhere from her crying. There are tears coming down. And in the middle of all that, she's like, and Libby looks at her and says, Zoe, let's get rid of the ice cream cone. No! Zoe, I can buy you another one. I don't trust you. It took me all day to get this. Zoe, we just want to clean you up. No, I don't trust you. You're not going to buy me another one. We finally got out of her hands, finally got her cleaned up, got her another ice cream cone, and then we had this picture a few hours later that you saw in Manhattan where she completely forgot about that. She had the fresh ice cream cone, but here's the thing. We laugh at a story like that because it's true, it's funny, and yet, don't we all have a moment where scarcity hits us hard? A moment where all of us are holding on to something we say we care about that we can't trust to anybody else, and scarcity then tells us there's not enough. And it's not just a 3-year-old protecting an ice cream cone. It's all of us throughout our lives protecting and having this mindset of scarcity. And we live in a world that constantly talks about fear. We live in a world that says, the advertisers tell us you need more. And then your banker says you need to save more. And then so-and-so says this. And every expert has a spectrum of belief. Think about it. We could pick any topic and an expert will say the exact opposite of another expert. Have you ever been there? Trying to plan for retirement if you're my age or a little bit older. And they're like, oh, do this. No, do this. And you're like, which one? What is the effect of alcohol? Oh, a glass of wine a day. This is what people in Europe do, blah, blah, blah. And the next person comes out and says 0 alcohol. It's all bad for you. What do I do with this? Can I have fruit? Fruit seems good. Fruit is bad. Did you know fruit is bad? What about veggies? Depends on the veggie. Oh my gosh, I can't even make a decision for myself. Because the world tells us so many conflicting stories and then our own experiences come out. Some of us grew up in poverty. Some of us grew up in impoverished parts of other parts of the world. We've had loss and rejection. Some of you grew up with money, but maybe your mom or dad lost all of it from bad investments or a downfall in the market. And some of us had nothing. We don't even know what it means to have anything. And yet all of us at some point have this mindset or a thought or a voice that says, don't let go. Don't risk. Don't. And Paul, the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians actually tells us a radically different story and paints a very different picture. And truly, it's like generosity is not just about what we give away. It's about who we become as we endeavor to be more like Christ. Less of ourselves, more like him. So we're going to jump in to 2 Corinthians chapter 9. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and take them out. Let's mark them up today. If you don't, you can follow on the screen or follow on your phone. But let's just read. You read along, but I'll read out loud. Here we go. Remember this. This is what Paul says. Whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. Whoever sows generously will also reap generously. And each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion or under pressure, for God loves a cheerful giver. God is able to bless you abundantly so that all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. As it is written, they have freely scattered their gifts to the poor, and their righteousness endures forever. And righteousness is, am I just doing the right thing aligned to the will of God? It's not this supernatural, you're going to have a halo. It's just, am I being righteous? Am I doing the right thing in wisdom wherever I go? Verse 10, now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. This service that you perform is not only supplying the need of the Lord's people, but is also overflowing in many expressions of thanks to God. Because of the service by which you have proved yourselves, others will praise God for the obedience that accompanies your confession of the gospel of Christ and for your generosity in sharing with them and with everyone else. And in their prayers for you, their hearts will go out to you because of the surpassing grace God has given you. Thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. Really quick, here's a story. Paul is writing to a group of people who are going to give generously to the work that he's doing. And what he's trying to do is paint this good picture that what you invest in, your time, your effort, your money, what we are doing to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ is good soil. He does all that before we get to this passage. And then he gets to this passage to encourage them. Your generosity, your righteousness, as you are following the way of Christ and being more and more like Christ, do you understand it's not just an amount of money you've given. Here's what it does in God's kingdom. Here's how this works in God's economy. And he's encouraging them. He's even telling them, give what you're supposed to give. Don't do it out of compulsion. Don't do it out of emotion, and don't let anybody lord over you and try to convince you to do something you don't want to do. But when you do it with your whole heart, look what this looks like. It's more than just giving of your time, talent, and treasure. It does something in God's economy and in God's kingdom. There's 4 things we're going to cover today. I'm going to tell them up front to you what they are, and then we're going to dive into them. Number 1, there's the law of sowing and reaping within this passage. Number 2, that God is the one who supplies and multiplies. Number 3, this idea that we are called to bless others with our time, talent, and treasure. And then number 4, that generosity glorifies God. It glorifies God. So key 1, the law of sowing and reaping. So Paul here in this passage begins with a farming metaphor. How many of you grew up in a small town or around a farming community? Raise your hand. That's you, okay? Or maybe you have a family heritage of farming. How many of you love to grow a garden? Raise your hand. All right. How many of you like to eat food from a garden? Raise your hand. That's most of us, right? But we have to be grateful for the farming mindset. And you have to understand, this is actually a great metaphor for how God does things in the earth. So you have to understand these laws of sowing and reaping. So he says this, the point is this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. And whoever sows generously will also reap generously. And each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And anybody who's planted a garden, any farmer or ranch hand or somebody who's worked with their hands, with the soil, understands you cannot reap what you have not sown. And there's these laws, these spiritual laws that God wants us to live out, and it can be really difficult to live them out. Why? Because generosity begins with trust. Generosity begins with trust, and many of us, because of life, because of situations, because of family of origin, have trust issues. And so we're supposed to take our trust issues and then with our time, which is finite, and the talents God has given us and the treasure he's entrusted to us, we're supposed to then trust God as we have trust issues. And yet I'm telling you, yes, we have to work through these. We have to work through our trust issues because generosity is actually telling God, I'm trusting you with my finite time. I'm trusting you with the gift set that you've given me. I'm trusting you with the treasure you've given me because it's not mine, it belongs to you. And this can be difficult, especially with time. I mean, we live busy lives, deadlines, family schedules, endless notifications. I mean, how many times this week did you look at somebody or did you look at a text message or an email you read and said, I don't have time for that? Every week. And not like in the dramatic, I ain't got time for that. Not that kind of, I don't have time for that. Like literal time, chronos, time, chronologically. I literally don't have time for that. And yet we're challenged to trust God with our time. But just bear with me. What if time, all of these are like seeds, right? This farming metaphor. What if our time was like a seed that when we planted it, God multiplied it and gave it back to us? Well, Carlos, come on. Logistically, how does that work? If I give 30 minutes here, how am I going to get an hour there? Well, we're talking about God's kingdom, God's economy, God's way of doing things. It's different than the way we do things. But what about this? What about, I don't have time for X, Y, Z, but what if you gave 30 minutes to that thing you don't have time for? And what if it created a harvest for something you never could have received because of the investment? have a daughter in college, and they had a 5-day break, and she decided to stay at her college apartment instead of coming home. And of course, as parents, we're like, oh, what is she doing? What is she going to do with her time? She goes, no, I'm just going to buckle down, and I have papers to write, research to do. She has organic chemistry this semester. She's like, and at the end of those days where the campus was pretty much empty, she's like, I'm 100% caught up. She invested 4 days of her life to get back time that she now has time now that she's caught up for the semester. See how that works? Sometimes we avoid investing time into something that actually can be a gift back to us. What if we looked at it differently? What about our talent? How many times do we not really understand the seed of the talent that God's given us? Well, somebody else can sing better. Somebody else can do that presentation better. Somebody else can lead better. Somebody else knows more. But here's the truth. If you and I bury our talent out of fear, we will never see the fruit of it. You can't bury it. And I know we want to protect these things. We want to protect our time and protect our talent, protect our money and our treasure. But there's a difference between burying it to protect it and planting it to invest it. It's the same act. You're putting that seed into the ground. What's different is the expectation. See, if I have the seed and I just bury it, I'm going to dig a hole and I'm going to grieve that the seed of time goes into the dirt and I'm never going to get anything back, and I've buried it. It is the end of that seed. But when I plant the seed and I invest the seed, I do the same action. I dig a hole, I put that time into the ground, I cover it, but because I have a different expectation, what do? I fertilize it, I water it, I care for it. It is the beginning of a new thing. The seed is going to be gone, but it's going to create a harvest. Why? Because I have new expectations. And many of us see the things that we have, and we think when we give it away, it's the end of it. And the truth is, it is the end of it as you know it. But in God's economy, in God's kingdom, it's the end of what you know, and it's the beginning of what God does with it that brings it new life. And the same thing happens when it comes to our treasure and our money. On paper, for all of the accountants in the room, we either add money to our bank account or we take money of our bank account. And it's addition and it's subtraction. But the truth is, Paul says the opposite. He says, if you sow generously, you'll reap generously. And I know some of you want to have the proverbial, uh-oh, here we go. Is he going to say it? Uh-oh. I'm never going to give at this church ever again if he says what I think he's going to say. I'm going to say it. You ready? It's not what you think. God doesn't promise to make you rich, but he does promise to make you fruitful. And you may have grown up in a church or given your life to Christ in a church and said, well, if you just give this $100, boy, I brought 1,000 napkins from Israel covered with olive oil that people pressed their feet and prayed over you. And I'm going to give you that napkin if you give $100. God's going to give you 1,000 back. Great. You want to fall for that? God bless you. That's not what Paul's talking about. We don't give to get. We give out of righteousness to be more like Christ. And when we do that, what we give causes our lives to be fruitful. And in a way, you and I become rich. Rich in love, rich in purpose, rich in righteousness, rich in continued grace that flows out of our life so that we can bless other people. But we're not talking about pocketbooks. Although it could be your pocketbook. But there is no formula here except for the formula that we check our hearts, we align to what God desires, and He has entrusted to you and I a packet of seeds called time, talent, and treasure. And then you and I get to decide what to do with them. We get to decide. We get to decide if we want to honor God with it. Key number 2, God supplies and God multiplies. Paul says this, and God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, you may abound in every good work. Notice the repetition, all. All grace, all sufficiency, all things at all times. Paul's making it clear God's supply in God's economy in the kingdom of God is limitless. Limitless. And the principle is generosity flows from God's provisions. Now, we can think when we write a check to the church, or we give our time to kids ministry, or we use our talent to help in student ministry, that it's actually from us. No. You and I, friends, are simply vessels. And as vessels, God fills us with time and talent and treasure. We are conduits. It is not us. It is God who supplies all of these things. And we often think of generosity as something we do, right? We are the providers. We make the money. We manage the schedule. We hold the talents. But the truth is, everything we have is actually a gift from God. It's a gift. And I hope we walk in this with the heart of stewardship and understanding our lives could change tomorrow. Many of our Gateway family are in the tech industry. And some of you have walked through a lot of this, that your whole life could change, and it has. Some of you have gone through changes 3 times in the last few years. And some of us have had no change, but seeing our friends around us go through so much change has brought a level of humility. Oh, this could happen to me. But when our mindset is, this isn't mine, this is God's, we begin to trust God as vessels. Verse 10 says, he who supplies seed to the sower. You're the sower. Do you know that? You and I are the sowers. When we go into the act of taking seed and planting it in fertile soil, we are the sowers. And yet, who's the one that provides the seed? God. God supplies the seed to the sower, and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for what? He will multiply your seed for what? For more sowing. More sowing and increase the harvest of your righteousness. And it's like, oh, so God's going to give me more. Yes, God's going to do more and abundantly, whether it's time, talent, or treasure, for you to give more. Wait, but isn't there like a limit? This isn't the IRS tax code. Well, Pastor Carlos, I've given this year, and I hit the IRS tax code, the maximum amount I can give. Whew, checklist. Doesn't work that way. We live in an economy in God's kingdom where God's like, wait, what are you doing? This isn't about subtraction or addition. Generosity is about participation. Regular participation, which is why every week we say, if you call Gateway home, no pressure, but you should be somewhere on the journey to generosity. As you wrestle with God about your own finances and your own treasure, be on that journey together with a few thousand other people. When we do that, there are so many amazing things that can happen. And every one of us are on a different journey. Because sometimes if we don't have that mindset of vessel and participation in God's economy, what ends up happening is when we start to do something, it actually depletes us instead of develop us. Giving, serving, loving can deplete. And we're human, so that can happen. But over time, it should develop us to be more like Christ, not to deplete us to want to be less like Christ. That's why when it says do it with sober mind, don't sign up for 5 areas to serve in. There's no super holiness to it. There's not an award on a Sunday morning. And here we have Donnie. He served in 11 areas and didn't have time for date nights with his wife. Give it up for Donnie. No. But whatever you do it as unto God. Do it with all your heart. Do it without coercion. Do it as though you're doing it as an act of worship because it develops a heart of generosity. Y'all are getting quiet on me now, and that's okay. It's all right. That means I'm doing something right. Here's the truth. I know we live in a culture that really distrusts the local church. I get that. Many of we've talked through that, or you talked to a staff person, or we've had some of those discussions around that. But here's what I want you to know. I'm going to own the capital C church, which is what we call the global church, has mishandled these kinds of conversations for a long time. Has. There's really no getting around it. And yet, it doesn't mean we get to run from the issue. Jesus talked about this all the time. The giving of ourselves, the emptying of ourselves, the reflecting of who he is. And we have to be reminded that God is sufficient. He's the one who provides, but he provides through us, through our obedience, through our stepping out. The goal of generosity isn't more comfort, it's more Christ-likeness. The goal of being generous with your time and your talent and your treasure is to be more like Christ. We're going to dive into this over the next few weeks. And I think we're going to help undo some of the faulty teaching that maybe you've heard or understood and keep it simple and biblical. We're called to be more like Christ. Key number 3, generosity blesses others. You will be enriched in every way to be generous in every way, which through us will provide thanksgiving to God. Paul's saying to the people here in Corinth, as you give, you're going to give to our ministry. Here's what we're going to do with it. It's good soil. And these people that you don't even know are going to be so thankful for your generosity. For the ministry of this service is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but it's also overflowing in many thanksgivings to God. Here's what Paul's saying. He's saying when you give your time, talent, and treasure, you have no idea the ripple effect of your investment. You have no idea. Many of you will never hear the detailed stories of because of your giving and your generosity, whether it's alpha or groups or students or re-engage for couples. You may not know the individual stories, but lives are impacted because of the ripple effect when we step into generosity. We won't always know. But I will tell you the key here, key principle, generosity expands God's kingdom. Why? Because every act of generosity echoes in heaven. And here's the reason why it echoes in heaven, because generosity is incarnational. Some of you are like, what's that word mean? We'll get to it. Generosity is incarnational. It makes God's love tangible. Incarnational means it takes on flesh. Takes on flesh. So I gave a challenge to the first service. I'm going to give it to you. This week, I want you to do something that is going to be so easy, it's not going to cost you anything except for a moment of awkwardness. That's it. It's going to cost you a dime. It's not going to stop you from doing anything. It's not going to mess up your schedule. Here's what I want you to do. When you're walking into your school, you're walking into that classroom, you're walking into the grocery store, you're walking into a restaurant, you're walking into a group, somebody's home, whatever. Here's what I want you to do. Everybody do this. I want you to go to open the door and open it and let the person behind you go in after you. Okay? So you're like, well, what does that do? Have you tried it? This is normally what it looks like for me. I go to the door, open it, and the person behind me almost always does this. No, you go first. That's where we are in our society. We don't even know how to walk into a door that somebody else has opened for us because we are not generous. What will that cause? You open the door, they don't know what to do. It's okay. Look at them in the eye. Pastor Cross, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. In today's culture, might get canceled. Somebody's going to say I was flirting with him. Well, don't be flirty about it. No, I don't want to look in the eye. It sends signals. No, it doesn't. You want to know what sends signals? If you open the door and go, hi, that sends signals. Okay? Be normal. If you don't know how to be normal, do not take this assignment. Please just don't do it, okay? Just open the door. Let them in. And you're going to begin to learn something. Generosity very often doesn't cost a whole lot. It just costs us our pride. Generosity costs us not a whole lot, but it does cost us our pride. But I'm a lady. I shouldn't open the door for anybody. Talk to me after service. I'll tell you my answer from that. Why does this matter? Because most people who are far from God aren't even exploring God. They get to see somebody look at them in the eye, and nobody will probably look at them in the eye the rest of the day. They're going to see somebody smile at them, open a door for them, and they have no idea, but you just became a reflection of God in the earth. What would happen if you see that table next to you and you see a mom struggling with their kids, or you see a couple that's getting a little older? Man, you can tell they're kind of doing life by themselves. Or you see a couple fighting and you're like, man, what could brighten their day? What would it cost you to just say, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and pay for their meal? But I won't get credit for it. Who cares? At least you get airline points on your credit card, okay? But what happened to us? What happened to us? Why don't we restore the dignity of God's name in the earth by making him incarnate, by being a representation of him in the earth? God is calling you, because when we do that, remember from a few weeks ago, we put on the gospel shoes of peace. Why? Because what are we carrying with us? The gospel. The opening the door, the paying for somebody, the loving on them, the helping them just pay for their Starbucks, whatever you pay, whatever it is. Do you understand that you are incarnate? You are God with skin on. Remember the first time I heard that, I didn't like that phrase. Because this movie, Silence of the Lambs, had just come out, and it was just like, if you know that movie means you're old, and it was like there's this scene in the movie, creepy, and it's like this imagery of God. God doesn't need skin. No, he doesn't need it, but he chooses to use you and I to be incarnate in the world. Key 4, generosity glorifies God. It glorifies God. By their approval of the service, they will glorify God because of your submission that comes from your confession of the gospel of Christ and the generosity of your contribution for them, these people that they're going to make a difference to, and for all others, while they long for you and pray for you because of the surpassing grace of God upon you. Thanks be to God for his indescribable gift, that gift of Jesus. And Jesus models this for you and I, brothers and sisters. He gave his time, walked among us, taught the crowds. He gave his talent, using his power to serve and not to dominate. He didn't build an earthly kingdom. He came to serve. Philippians says he did not come to be equal with God. He came to serve. He took on the mindset of a servant. And then his treasure, he didn't give $5, 5%, 10%, 40%. He gave it all. The ultimate model for you and I, and Paul is saying, when we want to follow Christ and follow the way of Jesus, we then get to say the same story of Jesus by saying, my life is not my own. I have received grace freely, so I give freely. Can you imagine when you come to Jesus, if the first day you say, I believe in Jesus, we looked at you and said, okay, now you get 1% of grace today. And then every year we'll check in at our yearly grace class and you'll get the next 1%. And then by retirement, you will be fully funded of grace. No. You get the full amount of showered, drowning in the grace that Jesus affords us. The very first moment we say yes, and so we say, my life is not my own. It has been purchased by a price that Jesus paid. I have received grace freely, so I give freely. Key principle, generosity strengthens unity. See, generosity brings unity, and unity honors God. Scarcity brings fear and divides and does not honor God. And at the root of it for us in our brokenness in our flesh, when it comes to stuff, our time, our talent, and our treasure, here's what we understand. We are not owners. We're stewards. We're not owners. We're stewards. Open-handed, the way Jesus did, so that Paul could say, thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. And he points back to Jesus. I told the story of my daughter Zoe earlier in New York City and the ice cream cone and all the things she carries. And as I was looking at her with her ice cream cone and the tears and the boogers and the blood and the asphalt and all and the crying and the ice cream just going down her arm and the imagery of that, when I reflect on that story, you know what really saddens me? That my 3-year-old already had a mindset of scarcity. Where do you think she got it from? A father who projects his scarcity onto his daughter. See, we think it starts and ends with us, but it didn't start with you, and it won't end with you. So we pause and we stop and we reflect honestly. What do we see? If you'll go ahead and take out that card that's right there in the back seat in front of you, I want everybody to participate. 100% of participation. You have to put your name on it. But we're going to actually use this. All of our campuses are doing this. And the back says, where am I most living with scarcity mindset instead of trusting God's abundance? Time, talent, treasure. I've already shared with you, mine's treasure. It has been. I don't know why. I do know why. But it's a lifelong journey for me. But I want you to think about these 3 questions as we sing a reflection song. So we're not done yet. We're going to sing this song. We want to sit in it, let yourself pause and reflect. Where am I living with a scarcity mindset? What mental blocks do I have when it comes to generosity? And where have I seen generosity mishandled? How can I be part of restoring it? We're going to sit in this as a church. All of our campuses are doing this. And over the next few weeks, we're going to share some of the results. Hey, this percentage of our people, really, we're struggling with our time. We're struggling with talent. We're struggling with this issue around our treasure. But as we sing this song, we're going to actually turn this in on the way out. As we sing this song, the song is about Jireh, God our provider. And that's all it means. He's our provider. So as we sing this with a heart, just knowing that God's the one who provides. It's his job to provide. Our job is to align ourselves to him. And then we'll close up here.